I realized my interest in filmmaking when I was a teenager. And it happened when I went to watch a film with my family. And there like in between the film, few minutes into the film, I was like, no, this cannot be a future. I'm going to be a filmmaker. So it sort of started as a joke, essentially, but later translated into me going to a film school, learning creative freedom, exploring the art of storytelling, right? So it sort of came together. Of course, it was not an easy decision. I mean, when it started as a joke, it was a joke. But when it was supposed to materialize into something concrete, it had its pros and cons, right? In a society where women are sort of tied to conventional roles, it's, you know, getting into filmmaking felt like a rebellion, and it still feels like that. And there's so many women out there in Pakistan who are rebellious enough to take this up, which is great. I had, of course, people would tell me there was skepticism regarding this path, and I was often told, that this might not lead anywhere. So I had these perceptions in my mind, but my family was a huge support. The boldness in my work actually comes from them, and also the rebellion comes from them, their support and encouragement, and this courage that I have, sort of this courage that I've gotten from them, is what keeps me going. The biggest challenge I had to face, I think, was breaking through, the lack of representation. It was so hard to convince people to trust a young woman in leadership roles. Of course, it has rapidly changed now. I was my own boss from the very first day. So, trying to convince people that a young woman can do this was hard, and there was no road map for any of us. So, traditional South Asian weddings are deeply rooted in rituals, right? But somewhere along the way, I felt that it has become more of a spectacle, you know, how much the family has spent, what the appearances are, how much jewelry are we wearing, how much money has been spent, or how big is the venue, all of these aspects that are involved in planning a wedding. My campaign talks about how a bride is reduced to her attire, jewelry, and just societal expectations. How she is dictated, her every step is dictated and judged, you know. So it talks about how her personal desires are sort of ignored to put on this huge spectacle, you know. I grew up in this society, sort of going to weddings all the time, seeing this throughout my life. I still have to go to a wedding today. So, I hope you get what I mean. Uh, as I grew older, I started to, initially, it was fun, a lot of, you meet your friends, you meet your family, there's music, there's a party going on. But as I grew older, I realized that, you know, um, there are a lot of issues with this industry. And slowly I started to like recognize those issues. And this one issue I felt was stripping away the individuality of brides. And I felt that this was something that needed to be a part of a bigger conversation. So funding is obviously a huge problem, and a huge part of whatever we create. Because my work isn't AI. I can't do it alone. I have to do it with a group of people as a team, right? So that requires funding. Um, what I do is I collaborate with like-minded people whose values align with mine, and organizations that sort of want to explore the same kind of narratives that I want to explore. And there are a lot of people, to my surprise, there are actually a lot of people who want to work on these things. And yeah, so what we end up doing is sometimes I self-fund, sometimes there's a brand who takes up a certain campaign that I've made, or there are organizations who sort of fund projects. I think the only way we can do this is by collaborating with one another. There has to be a strong support system for Pakistani artists, because I do believe that the world wants to see Pakistani narratives, because it has had a global impact on so many levels. For instance, we're talking about me right now, but there's so many other artists who have gotten global recognition, right, for their work. So I think there is an audience out there for Pakistani cinema and Pakistani art, but we do need international co-productions. We do need better distributing channels. It's obviously truly humbling. It is very, very humbling, and I am truly, truly blessed for all these recognitions, and I'm hoping for more. I'm actually working on a feature film,
Okay.
and yeah, so let's hope everything goes well and it actually materializes into something great. Even if it doesn't, I believe that, it's a learning process. I actually run a charity school. And what I'm trying to do is I have about 500 students in that school. And of course, we give them conventional education. But now I'm working on sort of building a vocational training center for them, where I can teach them all these skills that I have. And I mean, these kids come from communities um, where getting an education in itself is sort of like a taboo, or not important enough. So, I want to sort of give them these life skills where they can also venture into creative workforce and industry. Yeah. The impact that I want to leave is to encourage people to be unapologetically politically incorrect and create strong, bold narratives that exist in Pakistan, and be unapologetic about those narratives. I want them to be like truly honest with their craft.